This is Sick and Wrong, America's #1 source for antisocial commentary. Brought to you by the Reach Around Foundation.
Good evening. Welcome to Sick and Wrong, the world's source for antisocial commentary. I'm one of your hosts, D. Simon.
I'm your other host, Lance Wackerly.
And Lance, this is podcast 28. We're moving right along. I'm sure the Reach Around Foundation would be proud. I'd like to thank the Reach Around Foundation for sponsoring this fine program.
From what I hear, they're very happy with the work we're doing.
That's good. That's good. You know, I'd like to one of these days go into like the other podcasts that they're doing. You know, and I know they're doing a few other ones as well. But
yeah, they are.
So, yeah, I think they're definitely doing us a favor by.
But I don't think now is the time for
by
that.
Sponsoring this. No,
we need to make sure that they're all right with us endorsing the other podcasts. Whether they're doing as good a work as us is debatable.
True. I agree with you. So how you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, dude. Podcast 28. I'm definitely excited about this. One thing I wanted to talk about before we get into the articles. There's just so much going on in the news that we have a lot to get through with this podcast. But one thing I wanted to mention is something that's just been annoying me for the past month or so is this whole World Cup fever.
Well, that's why one of the reasons why I'm doing so good is it's finally over.
I know, exactly. It's like, thank God it's fucking done. And I know, we run the risk of alienating our European and Australian and fans that live abroad that are all like
Pakistani.
soccer, Pakistani. The fans that soccer is their life. But really, football, soccer, whatever we're gonna call it soccer because we're Americans.
Yes.
I just couldn't give a fuck less about that sport.
Neither can I. And this didn't seem like it comes up around every 2 years, but this year, this World Cup, hasn't it just been way more in your face than you ever remember? Like back when I was a kid, you never heard shit about it.
Dude, you know what I remember is like, okay, so the World Cup was going on. Everyone's just kind of like, yeah, U.S. is going to lose like in the first game. So maybe that's why we just don't give a fuck about it. But, this time it was all over the news. And the thing that got me, the rub, is the fact that my friends, my sister's boyfriend, were all like, they all got swept up into this World Cup fever. It's just like, yeah, we're going to go to the bar and watch the game. Or, no, I can't go out because we're watching the game. And it's just like, dude, like, For example, I don't want to use his real name here, but we'll call him Damn Turd. Damn Turd is a perfect example. Good friend of Lance and mine. This guy refused to go out because he's watching the game. Now, Damn Turd never played soccer in his entire life. The guy's like 6 foot.
He's not the right
9.
shape to play soccer.
No, he's a big, tall, googly-eyed freak. And it's like he's sitting here saying, oh, I gotta watch the game. I'm really into the World Cup now. And it's just like, dude, you don't like any sports.
Not only that, but he has to get up early in the morning to go watch it because, the time zone differences and everything.
Dude, people are getting up at 6 o'clock to watch these games.
Retarded.
No, but I mean, they're fanatical about it. And I don't want to condemn someone for liking some sport. But what I want to get into is why? Why are people so into soccer? To the point where it's like, why are there these hooligans that are beating each other senseless over these games? I mean, do you think that the English soccer fans are more violent than the Oakland Raider Nation? The Raider Nation, everyone always says the Raider Nation. It's like those, homunculus fucking dudes that paint their faces and go to these games and beat the shit out of each other after the games.
Yeah, but they'll beat up on one person, the Raider Nation will. Like, English soccer hooligans will just start a riot and burn the stadium down.
Dude, they go insane.
Yeah,
you hear
they're
about
definitely crazier.
You hear about the stampedes going on in South America.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why soccer is so popular around the world. And second, why are people so interested in these games, which I seriously think they're as boring as baseball? I would say they're as boring as bowling. And I don't mean to offend people, seriously. I don't want, I know we're probably going to get 1,000 emails from our English fans. They're like, what are you doing, mate? You don't understand the game. We're going to come over there and give you a bonk on your noggin,
I don't know. I mean, for me, the whole thing is all these games are the final outcomes, at least the big important ones, the final outcomes determined by penalty shots, right? Dude. That are made because some guy doesn't get fouled, but some dude from the other team brushes up against him in the penalty box, and the guy, puts on this big, Academy Award winning acting job where he falls down, he's flailing all over the place.
He's holding his knee, he's crying.
Because the guy's the other dude's shoelace brushed up against his kneecap or something.
No,
and then that guy takes a dive. The ref calls a penalty kick in the box, and that goal because there's no other goals in hour and a half long game.
No, exactly. It's so what happens is these games, they go for an hour and a half, right?
Yeah,
something like that, and they're scoreless. It's just a bunch of dudes kicking a ball back and forth.
Right.
No goals are being scored, and then the whole game's decided at the very end. When someone slides into somebody.
So if nobody scores on a penalty kick in the game, then the game's tied, and they decide the whole game
with
by
penalty
taking
kicks, right?
by taking all the players off the field. It's why'd you even play the game? If all these big important games are going to have shootouts at the end, why do that? I mean, hockey, they'll have shootouts, but only after they've done 3 periods of overtime, and you've been watching 5 hours of hockey, and you're just God damn, get it over with, flip a coin or something, Well,
what I don't get is why don't they do a sudden death match? It's
right.
just it has to be decided by a goal. Is it because then the game's going to go on for 4 hours?
Yeah, but the answer being hockey, you have a sudden death, but you do have a limitation on it. After they've been playing for 3 hours, then
so
you have
add an
penalty
extra
kicks.
5 minutes, sudden death. And then do the penalty kicks.
Add
10.
Add 30 minutes of sudden death, and it's over when somebody scores a goal.
But the fact of the matter is, because of the way the game is, the rules of the game, it's decided by who's the best actor. It's all histrionics. It's some guy's going to fall down and start crying, and you notice that because they're not getting penalties as much in the beginning of the games, but at the end of the games,
right?
That's when you see someone sitting there on the field crying.
Yeah, and somebody's going to say, "Oh, well, they're wore out, and that's why there's more fouls and people go down." But that's fucking bullshit.
But there are no
dude.
real injuries in soccer.
No.
I'm sorry. Rugby, you get fucked up in rugby. Football. You get fucked up in football. Even basketball, you get pretty fucked up. I mean, these guys are massive, huge freak. They're freakishly tall.
Yeah, one of their arms swings into your face, and it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's soccer. It's I twisted my ankle.
They're all,
God.
They all weigh 140 pounds, and they're just 5'8" or something.
You know who? How you decide who's a good soccer player is who can cry the best.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
It's determined by crying. And it's I'm sure the coaches coach the players into crying. They probably have drama queens, drama actors, coaches come in there and be okay, now no, it's not believable. Seriously, Zidane or whatever, just hold your foot and in your hand and cry. We want to see tears here.
I want to see the emotion, or else they just cut open.
It's method acting,
or else they just cut open a big bag of onions on the sidelines.
I don't know.
All right, go out.
Although you know what, though,
I get so much hate mail. It's going to be great.
I do have to admit, though, I was impressed with that. I'm going to call him Zidane. I don't know how to say his fucking name.
That's fine with
me. But I
me.
was impressed with the Frenchie that headbutted that Italian guy.
Yeah.
Because from what I've read, there's a lot of shit talking that goes on in soccer.
Well, apparently the guy, he plays for the French team, but he's Algerian or something, and the guy said his mother was a terrorist whore.
That's what he said. His mother's a terrorist
whore. That's what the other dude said to him, and then he headbutted him. But it was even kind of a pussy headbutt. It was
dude, it knocked him on the ground.
Yeah, but he headbutted the dude's chest. You're supposed to headbutt the bridge of the guy's nose and completely smash his face to pieces.
Yeah, I know. The guy wasn't even injured from it.
English soccer hooligans would know how to give a real headbutt.
So if you're saying it was Beckham would have fucked the guy up with his forehead.
Well, he's not a hooligan. He's a player. I'm saying the guys in the stands at an English game would have been like, that ain't a real headbutt, mate.
Now this is a headbutt, and
and your face would just be fucking flat as a board, and just blood would be shooting out your ears.
Yeah. No. I mean, I saw that, and there's been a bunch of videos going around online. I've noticed of making fun of that guy's headbutts. One of the ones we were watching just before this podcast. I just want to announce this URL here: www.dashes.com/ANIL 2006/07/11/Zidane_world_CU. It's an animated thing, a little music thing, Benny Hill music, and him just headbutting the fuck out of a bunch of people.
Anything is better with Benny Hill music. Maybe if they played all the World Cup games with Benny Hill music, I would like it.
So who do you think has the worst soccer hooligans? So English fans?
I'd have to say England.
I was reading something that if England was playing Germany, all the English fans would have showed up wearing Hitler mustaches.
I think...
which would have been great.
I believe France played Germany, and it was in France, and the French police basically put out a broadcast that said any French person that makes the Sieg Heil, like Hitler salute, will be immediately, thrown in the slammer, and because they knew it was going to happen, just taunting.
And they're just waiting for it. They would have arrested you for doing a Sieg Heil. Yeah, then that would have been great. So you know what? I just want to let it go. I just wanted to rant for a little bit, and I am relieved that the World Cup is over.
Finally.
And to the chagrin of, I think, most of our audience, and we're probably going to get a lot of hate mail about this. But hey,
Bring it on.
we're open for discussion. Okay, this subject is open for debate. This is just a ignorant American view of football, soccer. I think it's mainly because sour grapes, because we just suck every year. Every
might be a
time we're in the
little bit of
World
that.
Cup, we just suck. I think it's because our athletes are playing real sports. Like football,
Yeah.
or American football, or
Real sports
baseball, or
that pay
something.
real sports that pay real money.
Although you got to admit, baseball is pretty fucking boring too.
I have a difference of opinion with you on that.
Well, anyway, let me move on here. That I did read one cool article though about the World Cup, which cracked me up. Police arrest cement soccer ball pranksters. You hear about this?
I heard a little bit about it, but why don't you fill me in on the details?
So this was happening in Berlin. I guess police in Berlin said on this past Wednesday, they had arrested 2 men on suspicion of placing cement-filled soccer balls around the city and inviting people to kick them. So I guess they were filling these soccer balls full of cement, placing them in strategic locations around the city, and then hanging a printed message, like by a lamppost or tree, that says, "Can you kick it?" And so 2 people were seriously injured.
Yeah, you gotta admit it's very tempting if you saw that. It'd be
If
hard to
you
not
saw a
kick
soccer ball just there with a sign that said, "Can you kick it?" you just reach back and just kick it.
it. Yeah, and I'd break my foot apart on the concrete ball.
Well, I guess that's what happened. And so they identified, I don't know, they found these guys pretty quickly, a 26-year-old and a 29-year-old man who had a workshop in their apartment where they were making these cement balls in their bathtub. So, yeah, you know what? I think my hat's off to those guys. Seriously, it's pretty funny.
Those are the type of people that make World Cup fun.
Yeah. And there's a little bit more about that. I would have liked that. Also, I heard that the brothels in Germany had record numbers. Mm-hmm. You can imagine, all those fans going to Germany and just like, hey, we're all drunk and checking out soccer, and they're on that soccer high. They're like,
Yeah, I believe I
we
said
got to
that,
go get laid.
I believe I said that one of the games was in France, and that shows how little of it I watched. All the games were in Germany, so it must have been the German police. But anyways,
I
that's
just get
neither
too-
here nor there.
I get too angry watching those games, but we need to move on. As I said before, we have a lot to cover. There are a lot of good articles in the news, a lot of sick and wrong events. Quick recap of the show. The way Sick and Wrong works, it's competition between Wackerly and myself here. What we do is we find the most disturbing article on the, in the newspapers, the most disturbing current article. We present it here on the show, and we invite the listening audience to vote, sickandwrongpodcast@hotmail.com, as to which article is the most repulsive. And the winner gets a case of beer. It's a case of MGD. And I believe last week for podcast 27, I started it off. So, Wackerly, I'm going to hand the mic over to you for podcast 28.
My story this week comes from the deep, deep Midwest. We're from the Midwest, but we're from sort of like the more, I don't know, a little bit more cultured area of the
Almost
Midwest.
more East Coast, Midwest.
Right, it's sort of right in the borderline.
Michigan's close to Pennsylvania,
But this is from Iowa.
Ohio.
This is total corn country.
Yeah, these are also called the flyover states,
Right.
because the states in the middle really just don't matter.
There's nothing there.
They're irrelevant.
Do you even know of a city in Iowa?
Des Moines.
Oh, right. Did you ever go there?
No.
No. Never want to?
I'd rather cut my balls off.
Anyways, this happened in Denison, Iowa. So, an Iowa judge has denied unemployment benefits to a man who claimed discrimination after being fired from the ethanol plant that he worked at. Ethanol is like an automobile fuel that they make from corn, hence it's from
okay.
Iowa. Sometimes they blend it with gasoline, but I guess it works just fine just as it is even. It's like really, really high. It's like 95% alcohol.
You
is
can
what it is.
use ethanol as a substitute for gasoline, or is
Yes,
it
you can.
Okay.
Usually they blend it, but you can also just use it pure as it is.
So
in your
why are we
car.
fighting for oil in Iraq?
Well, we're not going to talk about
Let's just
that.
fight for corn.
This isn't the environmental show, and it's not the politics show either. So that story is way out of our league. Corey Niedermeyer was 42, and he was fired in April from this company that makes ethanol. One day earlier in April, I guess, well, no, the day that he got fired, basically, he came into work, and I should probably mention that Corey is a severe recovering alcoholic.
Okay, that might be important. So he's an alcoholic, and he works at this ethanol plant.
Yeah, so, which isn't really alcohol. I mean, it's like fuel.
Yeah, but you'd
think there wouldn't be a problem, but obviously this being the Sick and Wrong show, there is a problem.
Okay, yeah, or else we wouldn't be discussing this.
Right, so he showed up for work in April, actually the 21st of April, and saw that there had been a little bit of a spill of this fuel alcohol, hundreds of gallons of 190 proof, which is 95% alcohol.
Jesus, that's strong.
Which is this
Take
ethanol.
a shot of that.
It was contained in a 6-inch deep holding pond that was about 30 feet by 24 feet. So a gigantic puddle of this stuff is on like the concrete.
If you touch this stuff, is it going to burn your skin off? I mean,
have you ever gotten
irritate your skin?
Have you ever gotten gasoline on your skin?
Oh, okay, it'd feel like that.
It kind of starts itching after a while.
You ever
It's
get
not
gasoline on your nuts?
Yes, I actually have, and it's horrible.
God, I don't even want to ask you.
We're going to have to do another personal Sick and Wrong story, and that'll be mine. Remind me of that, by the way, because I forgot about it.
You're getting adventurous in your choice of lubes here.
Yeah, well, I was a kid at the time, so. But so he sees this, recovering alcoholic, sees this giant pool on the ground, it's concrete, of ethanol. And I love the way this guy talks. Cause
he starts salivating.
But listen to the way this guy talks. He's totally one of those like bombastic alcoholics that tries to like sound smart so you don't think he's like a complete bum. But it's just hilarious to hear him talk. So he goes, I am a recovering alcoholic, and I thought about the availability of this alcohol throughout the day. So it's like talking to him. Drink me. That's code for what he's saying. Or what he's saying is code for that. Curious about the taste and its effects, I dipped into this lake of liquor and drank what I considered to be 2 to 3 ounces.
Jesus, dude, if you see a toxic substance on the ground at a plant that you work on, the first thing going through my mind would be like, I wonder what that tastes like.
Yeah, he works for
curious.
He works at a chemical manufacturing plant, and he like cannot resist drinking this stuff.
That man has a problem.
So he thinks and there's another drunk thing. You downplay the amount that you drink. So he says, "I drank what I considered to be 2 or 3 ounces," which is like, if the cops ask you how many beers you've had, you're like, "Oh, about 2," when you've really had like 12. The next thing I remember is waking up in Crawford County Memorial Hospital.
Dude, I mean, it must have burned through his stomach.
Well,
like
here's
his
what
digestive
happened.
tract.
His coworkers found him in an incoherent state, unable to say his name or the day of the week.
But that's typical.
Yeah, they obviously called. They obviously called the 911. The ambulance came, took him to.
Dory's fucked up again.
The ambulance took him to the hospital. He had a 0.72 blood alcohol level, which is almost double the level that is considered potentially fatal for many adults. Basically,
0.72.
Twice the lethal amount of alcohol in his blood.
When you got your DUI, what was your alcohol point?
I don't even remember, but I think it was like 0.18 or something.
Yeah, I had like a 0.15.
And I was hammered.
Yeah, I was wasted, dude. I had puked before I got into my automobile.
We're such great, upstanding citizens.
Don't be like us, people.
So he said he says he remembers drinking 2 to 3 ounces. But another thing that his coworkers, they found 3 empty soda bottles, like 20 ounces, that can't contain trace amounts of the fuel. So I think he was just working and making these like trailer park cocktails, like Mountain Dew and ethanol, Diet Coke and ethanol, probably all day long or all morning till his coworkers found.
So
him
he was just probably dipping the Mountain Dew bottle into the ethanol pond.
Yeah.
I'll just spike a little, just top off this little Mountain Dew a little bit.
So obviously he was fired, but the reason he's in court is because now he's suing his employer to get benefits. Because if you're fired, you don't get unemployment benefits, right?
Oh, okay, yeah,
or something like that. No, if you're fired for misconduct, you don't. If you're laid off, you do. So he's suing and he's saying, the judge asks him, "Why would you drink that fuel?" And he says, "I don't have a good explanation for that. Curiosity?" Because I'm a disgusting drunk is why.
Because I'm inbred and I'm from Iowa.
Right. So and Niedermeyer is arguing that his employer shares in the responsibility for the incident because the spill at the plant provided him a quote unquote opportunity to drink. Discriminating against him his employer is discriminating against him due to his disease of alcoholism.
Did you know his employers had probably been waiting for years to can this guy.
Oh, he's just a horrible employee.
Yeah.
Even if he's
He
recovering.
probably drinks during lunchtime.
Well, I think he's recovering. I think he probably hadn't drank for a long time, and this was just like too much for him to bear. So he's probably just one of those really annoying, dry drunk type people, like the president.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? I think he has to thank his tolerance for saving his life.
Oh yeah, I think so too. If he hadn't, spent years training his liver to process that amount of alcohol,
he would be dead.
But then again, he probably wouldn't have tried it to begin with.
Yeah.
Chicken and the egg. Chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
So just to close this up really quickly, the judge is like, "Yeah, right, no way," and she says the employer has a right to expect employees not to drink the fuel. Just because some of the ethanol leaked onto the floor is not a good reason for the claimant to drink automobile fuel. And Niedermeyer's final comment, well, they ask him like, "Well, how's it going? How's are you back on the wagon?" And he says, "Things are going pretty well until that day at work."
Until that day
So that
at work.
means this totally threw him off the wagon. He's probably drinking full time again.
Yeah.
Demon ethanol.
I wonder how much this man has to drink to get drunk, though.
So that's pretty disgusting, right? Just drinking stuff off the ground, just a disgusting drunk. I don't know. It's pretty sick to
definitely
me.
wrong. I think it's wrong more so than sick. I mean, I don't know. On the sick and wrong scale, 1 being not so sick, 10 being very sick, I'm going to have to give that probably a 5. Because it's borderline.
I'll kill you.
What are you giving it?
On the sick and wrong scale, you're right. I'm going to give it a 6.9. But just on the great story scale, I'm going to give it a 10.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give it on the scale of just being a fucking idiot. I'm going to have to give that a 10.
Right.
But just for the sick and wrong scale, it's going to have to be a 5. But hey.
All right, let's hear yours.
Let's just let the listening audience vote on this one.
As always.
But yeah, you know what? I actually found a semi-related story. So let me get on with it here. Podcast 28, here's my story. Which also has to do with abuse of a drug, controlled substance. Although ethanol is not really controlled, but...
It's controlled by the fucking transportation agency.
Yeah. Okay. So mine's an actual narcotic here. It's a banned substance.
So this is like one of those movie plots where it's like the drunks versus the druggy kids.
Yeah. The drunks versus the druggy kids, and that's what happened here. So this happened in Boulder, Colorado. Boulder bikers and joggers confront bridge trolls. So this article, I started laughing as soon as I started reading it because this article basically has to do with people who can't handle their drugs.
So we're not talking about really ugly old gay dudes who are trolling for young dudes?
No, we're not talking about actual trolls.
Not that
or
kind of troll.
Scary old homo trolls.
Okay,
No, we're speaking about acid-induced freaky people who can't handle their drug trolls.
Oh, those kind of trolls.
So
Okay.
according to reports from Boulder police, several joggers encountered a modern-day variety of bridge trolls in a park near the intersection of Colorado Avenue. This happened on July 7th. Although the trolls may have taken it a step too far when they challenged an off-duty Boulder County Sheriff's deputy. So,
Those are some brave trolls.
yeah, police said they came across the encounter mid-afternoon in which the off-duty sergeant faced off with Robert Hibbs of Boulder, Colorado, with a head full of acid, armed with broken golf clubs.
Those Hibbs boys are all hopped up on goofballs.
As the police officers took Hibbs, 19 years old, into custody, he allegedly insisted he was a troll and claimed that the bridge that he was on was his own. This is what reports state. Several witnesses noticed that Hibbs and his companion, Bradley Boville, also 19, were confronting joggers and bikers attempting to cross the bridge, and they were demanding a toll of $1. so they
That's
were
pretty reasonable, I think. I would pay it.
yeah, $1. You know, if two guys came up to me and they're were holding golf clubs and they were fucked up on acid, and
Their pupils are like the size of quarters.
yeah, and they were demanding $1 for me to cross the bridge, I think I'd probably pay for it too.
I'd sit around to watch their acid-induced hijinks a little bit for my, get some entertainment for my money.
So Boville, I don't think was as fucked up as his friend Hibbs. He did not tell police that he believed himself to be a troll, but did offer an alternative explanation, telling police he thought he and his friend Hibbs were having a bad acid trip.
Oh, that's
He actually admitted to doing acid to the police.
That's not a good idea.
And it's just like, oh, really? So you guys were pretending, you guys actually thought that you were trolls and were accosting people on a bridge demanding entrance, demanding a toll to cross the bridge. Yeah, I'd say that might be a bad acid trip. So Bovell
sounds like some good acid, actually.
yeah, well, it turned bad. But yeah, it sounds like they were pretty fucked up. So Bovell told police that he had taken a single tab of LSD and Hibbs had taken 5. The two had rolled a big joint, he allegedly told police, and found themselves without either a lighter or a dollar with which to buy a lighter. And subsequently, they had begun asking people for money for a toll, people who were crossing the bridge. An off-duty deputy painted a more violent side to the situation. Apparently, what the deputy said is they were armed with golf clubs, broken golf clubs, and they were going
troll weaponry.
Yeah, they were going up to people, and if people weren't paying the toll, they were attacking them with golf clubs. So I guess they had attacked a couple. Hit a woman in the leg and hit another man who started running. They're chasing after a few other people. And apparently this deputy was riding his bike, and he was riding his bike across the bridge, and when they confronted him demanding a toll, the deputy said that he had neither a coin of gold or a goat with which to pay them. I guess they were demanding gold or a goat. I don't know.
You know what the funny thing is? They wanted a lighter, right? Why aren't they just trying to get lighters off these people? Because when you're really...
You mean just get a light?
Yeah, or a lighter. I mean, give me a lighter and you can cross the bridge. And then, when you're on acid, the last thing you want to do is go into a store and buy something.
Yeah, but dude, these guys thought they were trolls.
Right.
I mean, 5 hits of acid. you got to be a little fucked
There's
up.
always that one guy who just overdoes it.
Yeah, I mean, the one guy probably was just kind of playing along because he's like, yeah, my friend's pretty fucked up. He's definitely freaking out here. But hey, whatever. I can play along. Okay, we're trolls. You know, let's demand a toll for the bridge. But then when his friend turned violent with, armed with
then
the
golf
club,
clubs come out and it gets a little weird.
And I bet you his friend was probably like, you know what, I'm just not going to stop him at this point. I don't even know if I would. Like, if I was tripping with you and you were demanding a toll to cross I don't think I would try to talk you down. I think I would just kind of be like, yeah, I'm just going to let him go.
let him get it out of its system.
I'm just going to watch this and enjoy. But, okay, so the deputy here, having neither a piece of gold nor a goat with which to gain passage, forced his way past Hibbs, who responded by hitting the deputy with the golf club.
Ooh, bad idea.
I know. The deputy then wrestled with him and apparently secured the golf club himself, with which he struck Hibbs across the chest and shoulder repeatedly, breaking the club, but not phasing Hibbs. Hibbs had a bloody nose and I guess a couple broken bones.
He had troll powers.
And then they managed to subdue him.
Strength of troll.
Yeah, I guess also what was going on too, the off-duty sergeant said, and other witnesses said that after they had crossed the bridge, Hibbs would tell Bovell to go stab them, even though Bovell didn't have a knife. Bovell insisted to police that he had not stabbed anyone, which was apparently true. Kind of getting to the end here, but the strangest part of the reports, however, noted that a large joint found in Bovell's front pocket appeared to be rolled out of 2 $20 bills. So I guess they did have money.
Yeah, but
they just had rolled joints with the money.
They'd already used it for doobie paper.
And police said Bovell, who just seems to be a fucking idiot, took them to his nearby apartment where they confiscated 3 more grams of marijuana, 11 marijuana pipes and bongs, and a number of other golf clubs. So both these guys have been arrested for possession of a controlled substance. They're lucky they didn't have acid on them because...
that's a big-time crime.
Yeah, if you get caught with a hit of acid, you're doing time, aren't you?
Yeah, they have different classes. Like, that's a Class A drug or something. It's comparable to having crack or heroin.
So it says here that both apparently finished their trip, or perhaps fantasy.
I wonder how that troll thing worked out for them in the slammer.
Lodged at the Boulder County Jail. But could you imagine a worse place to trip on acid?
No.
I mean, handcuffed in a jail cell. And this dude's on 5 hits, dude. I mean, he must have been flipping out.
In the hospital getting your stomach pumped out, that would suck.
As a matter of fact, that happened to my brother.
Ugh.
Yeah, this happened a few years
Nightmare.
ago when he was in high school and during his reckless days, although I don't think he's really changed much over the years. as everyone could tell from podcast 25. But I guess when he was younger, he took like 6 hits of acid and just totally flipped out and started attacking a police officer or something. He was subdued, and they put him in a straitjacket, and he was all fucked up, screaming in this hospital, in the prison, in the county jail, and they ended up having to take him to the hospital to get his stomach pumped. And
that's the worst thing. He was in jail, and then he went to get. He had both.
No, I think they given him some type of sedative or something. I don't even know. But
Orange juice.
That to me, that just has to be like the worst trip I've ever thought of. But this article made me think of like, you always read those reports of some idiot jumping off a fucking building thinking he can fly,
right? Or
some moron like drowning in a pool. And it's like I read those stories and I'm like, you know what? I am not sad at all. I feel no sympathy, no pathos for that guy whatsoever. It's a fucking moron. This retard died. He shouldn't ruin drugs for everyone else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's almost like social Darwinism. It's just like survival of the fittest. The guy can't handle his drugs, jumped off a building. Okay, sorry, one retard's dead.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shed a tear.
People should just do like I used to do when I did acid and just curl up into a ball and wish I was dead.
I did... God, I would never do acid now. Like, would you do acid at the age of 30?
Well, curling up into a ball and wishing I was dead sounds like really fun, but I've just had enough of that. I've sown my acid oats.
Well, at the time, like when I was in high school, doing acid was great. It's like I lived in my parents' fucking basement. I had no worries. I had no concerns.
That's
it's
the
just like, let's go get all fucked up and then go back to my parents' house.
Yeah.
Now it's just like you start thinking about where you are in your life. It's like, God, I haven't been laid in 7 months. Or,
taxes.
Jesus, I have all these bills to pay. And, it's just, you have mental baggage accrues over time. And it's just like, I think that would just detract from the acid trip. But I was thinking about my time doing acid. It's like, I never did anything this stupid. I never did anything like violent.
No.
I never tried to, attack someone to
can't
get a
imagine
toll, for crossing a bridge. So what leads me to believe is these people in this article had much better acid than I ever was able to attain.
Yeah, better. It's hard to say whether it was better or worse, but stronger.
Stronger. Definitely stronger. So on the sick and wrong scale, once again, this isn't entirely very sick. It's wrong. I'm going to have to give it probably, 5.4.
I was going to say 5.5, but maybe 5.6.
5.6. Okay, well...
There was violence involved.
There was violence. I mean, the one dude got his ass kicked by the police officer.
Right.
And I imagine, I wonder, like, how when you're on PCP, you have the strength of 10 men? If you're on acid, I wonder if, can you fight on acid?
I think you have the strength of a tenth of a man.
That was always my biggest fear, is getting my ass kicked with a head full of acid. Just completely tripping and just getting the shit beat out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That
head butted by a soccer guy.
That would rival the stomach pump. Yeah, if I probably wouldn't trip with Zidane.
No.
It's just I just wouldn't want to get headbutted in the chest.
He's way too aggro.
Yeah, that guy's just way too angry. Well, we invite the Sick and Wrong audience to vote on this. Sick and Wrong Podcast, hotmail.com. Give us your vote, and you can decide who gets a case of beer. We've been getting a lot of emails from a lot of different people. And one of the questions we raised in podcast 27 last week was, do Europeans barbecue? And we received a number of emails from some people. This guy Tim said, yes, Europeans barbecue, but it rains all the damn time. So in Ireland, they end up eating in the kitchen because the rain puts out the Barbie. And he said that Australians and South Africans are the Barbie kings.
I don't know, man. You got to go to Texas and prove that out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I always thought
Louisiana
Americans know how to barbecue.
The South.
So this other guy here, Stephen, said that in Britain they barbecue, but they seldom do it because of the weather. And,
a lot of weather complaints.
They mentioned that the 5th of November in Britain is Guy Fawkes Night, which they celebrate by drinking and setting off loads of fireworks. Sounds a lot like the 4th of July.
Yeah.
He was some dude who tried to blow up the House of Parliament. And I guess they have barbecues on Guy Fawkes Day. So
I like how they celebrate that.
Yeah. So in answer to our, it's kind of funny.
Holiday.
We celebrate our independence from the Britain.
Right.
From the
but
Brits,
we don't celebrate some guy trying to blow up the White House or, Congress.
No. I wonder if they do in Afghanistan. Do you think they celebrate 9/11? Yeah, I don't know. I don't even want to go there. And some other guy mentioned
We are
here.
having a 9/11 barbecue.
Yes, we're gonna have a barbecue for this. No, I don't even want to go there. We should move on. But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for clearing up that matter. It was a mystery. We were wondering about that. And then finally, we received a funny article in the mail, which totally cracked me up, and I just wanted to include it here. So someone by the name of Beef Curtains sent this to the Sick and Wrong Podcast Hotmail address. I don't know if Beef Curtains is a man or a woman. I'm hoping it's a woman. I don't know why.
I'd like to snap my Slim Jim off into the beef curtains.
Dude, I bet you she's not hot.
No, you're probably right.
So she sent this article. I guess this happened in Akron, Ohio yesterday. A smiling defendant was removed from a courtroom, and the picture is priceless.
Right.
We need to put this picture
He's
on the
completely
website.
mugging for the camera and the jury and the judge. Mugging, I think, is the word.
Dude, I don't even know if this guy's mugging. He's got his tongue out. He's smiling, having like a dandy of a time.
Yeah, he looks like he's having a great time.
Yeah, and he's sitting there, and he's being sentenced for murder.
Yeah.
So a murder defendant...
What does he care? He loves life.
A murder defendant who wouldn't stop smiling was removed from the courtroom before being sentenced to death. He was being sentenced to death for killing his former girlfriend. During the trial, Clarence Fry laughed, smiled, and at one point shoved candy in his mouth during the testimony.
Where did he get candy? I don't understand that.
I don't know. And they don't say what kind of candy. Was it
I guess,
Skittles?
he's being...
Laffy Taffy?
He's being sentenced to death, and all the more reason to, live it up while you can. Enjoy every minute.
Dude, he was having a great time.
We'll put the picture on the website.
Yeah, we have to. So Judge Patricia Cosgrove repeatedly warned him on Tuesday to stop smirking and making disparaging remarks about the victim. When he did not comply, the judge ordered him out of the courtroom. He watched his sentence imposed through a video link. This is what she said, unquote, "You're a pure psychopath in the full sense of the word. You have no conscience."
He's like the Sick and Wrong mascot.
And apparently
for the week.
that just cracked that guy up. Fry, 46, of Akron, Ohio, was convicted of aggravated murder in the killing of Tamila Hardison, who was stabbed in front of her grandchildren. He never denied stabbing her, but said lesser charges were warranted because his actions were not premeditated. It was a crime of passion. But yeah, as
He's
we
a passionate
said,
guy.
He's a passionate
He's
guy.
a man of passions.
Apparently, he has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
You know what? I just want to give some advice out to people. If you're being tried for murder, don't laugh.
No.
No.
And candy is probably a bad idea, too.
You just kind of sit there with a sullen look on your face.
What do you think he was eating? Raisinets or Good and Plenty?
I'm telling you, Laffy Taffy. Big League chewing gum. I don't know. Yeah, anyway. We need to wrap this up. Stay tuned for podcast 29. One thing before we get out of here, I want to mention thank you for voting on Podcast Alley. We had spoken briefly about it during the last show. You can vote for us on Podcast Alley or some of the other directories. iTunes, you can subscribe to the show, leave a comment. And dude, we had like 10 people suddenly put all these comments and votes for us on our page.
Good job, listeners.
So yeah, the ultimate goal here is, so Podcast Alley ranks podcasts. There's 1 through 10, make the top 10.
Yeah. That's the holy grail.
Dude, we have to get in that top 10.
And I think it resets every month. So it's not like just some podcast gets established and you'll never knock them out. Every month it gets reset. So
the reason
there's a chance we could get there.
Well, the reason I want to get in the top 10 is because I think we have a better podcast than all those dudes such as Keith and the Girl or, I don't know, Jimmy and fucking Betty Joe, whatever the fucking podcast.
Right. Let's not even mention their names.
Well, there's
all
these podcasts with a guy and his fat wife, and they get on there and they talk about having sex or whatever, their mundane sex life. And people
fucking bullshit slice of life shit.
Dude, it satisfies the voyeur.
Yeah.
And all the American podcast listening audience.
Right.
And you know what? I'm just sick of it. Those podcasts are boring. They don't talk about fucking people on acid trips beating the shit out of each other at golf clubs.
Right.
They don't talk about derelicts drinking ethanol.
Yeah.
So we want to compete with them. So people keep voting for us. And you know what? We'll try to come up with some type of incentive for you.
A prize for the listeners.
A prize for the listeners. Yes.
Some type of premium content.
We must do that.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for premium content in podcast 29. That just sounds kind of strange.
Yeah.
But until next week, smell you later.
Good night.